And after 10 minutes I could smell it and I thought, oh crap, I burnt my books. Hi guys, and welcome to episode 12 of the Peach and Paige podcast. My name is JJ. I am the owner and designer behind the brand Peach and Paige. I am filming this podcast for you today from my home here in the Adelaide Hills in South Australia, where I live with my husband and my 3 children. It is a very, very cool day here in the Adelaide Hills, considering we are in February, which here in Australia is usually our hottest month of the year. It's actually cold enough this week that we're all rugged up in jumpers and things like that, which is very unusual for February, but I must say I do enjoy it because I don't like the heat, so I'm quite pleased that it's nice and cool here at the moment. It is the, what are we, the 27th of Feb today. So one day left and then it is officially spring, which means we are on our way to winter here in the Southern Hemisphere, which is very exciting for me. Being able to pull out all my winter woolies and show off, I suppose, all the items and bits and pieces that I have been making over the last 12 months. Like I said, my name's JJ. You can find me on my website. So I've got my website down here at Peach and Paige, where I have links obviously to my other YouTube podcasts, as well as all my patterns and stitch markers that I make. You can also find me on social media. So I am on Facebook, Instagram, Etsy, and also have a little Reverie page as well, which I've really got into the habit of checking. I don't know if any of you guys use Reverie, if there's a way on your mobile phone to get notifications. I haven't figured it out. I suppose because it's a website and not an app. I don't get notifications if people comment in that group. I'm sure there's a way to do it. I just haven't figured out how. So if you do know, please do comment below. This is a knitting and crochet podcast. Obviously, I am a designer, and I also make stitch markers, as I said, out of polymer clay. So I'll be talking about that in a little bit more detail a bit later. It's a fortnightly podcast for the most part. I have been pretty good lately, actually, with staying on that schedule. So if you are interested, please do feel free to check out my 11 previous podcasts if you haven't already. If you do enjoy today's podcast and its content, please do like and subscribe so I know that people are enjoying and watching, and that this still is a worthwhile experience for me to continue doing this every fortnight. It's that being said, to be honest, I do enjoy filming these podcasts even just for myself, because it keeps me accountable, which if you have followed along my journey would know that is one of my weaknesses, is that I can get a bit airy-fairy with things. So the podcast is a way of me having some accountability to make sure that I am doing what I say I'm going to do. So yes, like and subscribe. So today I'll be going through some finished items that I've got, some things that I'm working on, and also, depending on how we go for time, there may be a small polymer clay tutorial at the end, if that is something that you're interested in. My podcast used to go for sort of 45 minutes to an hour, and then last fortnight's podcast was only about half an hour. I don't know if it's because I didn't have a lot of content, or I just sort of whizzed through things and didn't sort of slow down and take my time and things like that. I don't know, but it went really, really quickly. So we'll see how we go. If it is going to be a shorter podcast today, because I don't have a whole lot to show you, then I will put that little tutorial at the end as well. So I think that's about it for intro. So please grab a whip, sit down, relax, and enjoy the rest of today's podcast. So, and I will myself grab I've got a coffee today, again in my glitter potion mug. Oh, it's probably still a little bit hot. Yes, it is. Ooh. All right, so we'll start with my finished objects. So I've got 2 finished objects. They are, however, the same thing. You'll see what I mean in a minute. So that would be, if you are following along at home, my cactus pillow. So this probably gives you a bit of a better idea of how big it actually is as well. It is a decent sized pillow. It's not a little like child's toy size pillow, like a little snuggly thing. It is actually a proper decent sized pillow for hugs. So this is the first one I finished. This has been such a long time in the making. One of my previous episodes, if you've watched it, I think it was titled Dancing Cactus. I explained in a bit more detail how I was going really well with this pattern, and then I buggered up putting it together and got really angry at it and threw it in the naughty corner, and it's continued. What's that bark? Ugh. And it continued to sit in the naughty corner for months and months and months and months. And then at the beginning of this year, when I sort of decided I was going to get my shit together, excuse the language, I put it back onto the top of my to-do list pile and was determined to get back into it and get it finished. I wanted to tweak the size and the what have you of it as well. So this is the finished cactus. My original also didn't have the bobble edging, which I have to say I am in love with. I don't know what you guys think, but I think the bobble edging is just the icing on the cake for this little pillow. So I shouldn't say little, this ginormous pillow. So this particular one is made in it's double strand 8 ply. So I haven't released the pattern for this one yet, which I'll talk about in a bit more detail later, but I found the reason I did double strand of 8 ply is I find that for a pillow it creates a much thicker, less holey, for lack of a better word, fabric for the pillow. So it's, yeah, double strand 8 ply with a 6mm hook. This particular yarn is just a El Cheapo budget yarn from Spotlight here in Adelaide. Four Seasons Marvel in this nice sort of greeny limey colour, and the white it's just a stash out of my sort of bits and bobs collection. I know it's an acrylic, it's most likely Marvel as well. The Marvel 8 ply, it's not the softest yarn. That being said, in all of my pillows, so I've got a few pillow designs now. I've got the watermelon, the heart, and the cloud. Oh, and my bow pillows. So I've got 2 bow pillows as well. So in all of those pillows, and I think I mentioned it in the pattern as well, is that I actually quite like using the cheaper acrylics. This is a really good stash buster project, or any of my pillows. If you've purchased acrylic yarn, especially if you've purchased it online and you've got it home or got it in the mail and you hate the texture of it, you find it's really cheap and coarse and nasty. The Marvel 8 ply, it's not thin. It is on the thicker side of an 8 ply, but it is quite coarse. But I find that in pillows they wear a lot better. Because you're not wearing it, you're not so worried about the texture of the wool. And lastly, I find that it holds its shape a little bit better. When you've got a really soft, silky yarn that you're using, the pillow's more likely to sort of not hold its shape as well, because the pillow is just stuffed with fiber. It's completely malleable. It's not like a normal pillow where the inside pillow is shaped to the shape of the pillow to keep it. So the only thing keeping its shape is that outside fabric. If that makes any sense whatsoever. It made sense in my head. So I actually do, it's really good for using up if you've got the cheap, chunky sort of budgety yarn that you don't want to use in scarves and things like that. Pillows are great. The bobble edging was really interesting. I obviously when I release the pattern there'll be a full photo tutorial of how I did it, but it took a lot of playing around with, and I have to say I'm really happy with the technique I ended up deciding on. You'll actually see that the contrast bubble is completely internal. Like there's no, you can't see that white anywhere else other than those bobbles. And there's a little trick to it, and I don't want to go into it in too much detail because you might just need to purchase my pattern to find out. But yeah, I was really happy with the technique I ended up deciding on with the bobbles, and it means that it's no matter what side you want the pillow on, it's, you know, both sides. I used a front post and back post, not back post, front post, back loop only, sorry. Back loop only to create that a nice sort of ridged look. Like it's not, you can't really tell, but it's sort of slightly ridged like a cactus would be. And then yeah, just stuffed with fiber fill and single crocheted up at the bottom. So that was my first finished object, and obviously I made that one for my the photos and stuff for my pattern. And then I once I finished that, two reasons. One, all of my design patterns usually go to either friends or family or my daughters. My daughters have got quite a collection of crocheted pillows now because they get all my samples that I make up. And so I gave my eldest daughter that cactus pillow, and naturally, obviously, my youngest daughter was like, well, I need in on this. Where's my damn cactus pillow? So I thought, well, I might as well make a second one. So I thought, well, what I'll do, because I had always done 8-ply in a double strand, I had some thick 12-ply in the color that I wanted, and thought, well, I'll make this exact same pillow up in 12-ply and see what difference it actually makes. So using the same size hook, only difference being that I was using a single strand of 12-ply instead of a double strand of 8-ply. And so this was pillow number 2, of which the colors I am obsessed with. Ooh, my light flickered. Sorry about that. Absolutely adore this color combo. The light gray with the neon freaking pink crochet bobbles. So yeah, this was done in 12-ply, and the yarn was Paint Box Chunky. Couple of things with this one. So I think size-wise, it was ever so slightly smaller. Not that way. Where was it? I know when I laid them on top of each other, it's hard to tell now because I'm holding them up. Oh no, I think now that they've both been slept on by my daughters, they've sort of mushed into shape. Now they are pretty much spot on in size. So there you go. So you can make it in 12-ply if you wish, as opposed to the 2 strands of 8-ply, and you will effectively get the exact same pillow. Only difference, as I said before, the 12-ply is, while it turns out the same size, the fabric isn't as dense as you would get with the 2 strands of 8-ply. So while this pillow looks amazing and it's actually a lot more soft and snuggly, it's a lot floppier. It doesn't hold itself up quite as well as this one. It tends to flop out a lot more. Can you still see the difference? That's probably the best way of showing you. Trying to hold them up, you can see the green one, the arm's not sort of flipping off to the side as much as that is. See? So that's what I mean by dense. Even though they're the same size, this just sort of holds its shape a little bit more. So this is sort of a bit more of a floppy pillow, but it is very cuddly. The other thing I found with this pillow when making it, because I do the fabric in back loop only, and especially this one, it has a lot more stretch than when I did it with the two strands of 8-ply. I hope I've been saying that right the whole time. I don't think I have. The 2 strands of 8-ply. it's because it is a lot softer, it's also a lot stretchier. And what that means is that I had to be very, very careful not to overstuff the pillow, which probably contributes to the fact to it being a little bit floppier and doesn't sort of hold its shape as well, is that there's not all that much stuffing in here. And the reason being, like I said, because it's super stretchy, I could have stuffed it, and it would have ended up like stretching really out of shape. So I could only stuff it enough that it had enough in there that it was sort of, you know, it was a pillow, but it was still holding its original shape without sort of stretching out too far. But like I said, I think a lot of that comes down to the fact that I chose to do it in back loop only, as opposed to just normal half double crochets, as I'm pretty sure all my other pillows are. They're either half doubles or singles. Can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, so that does create a bit of difference. And I was sort of tossing up between perhaps redesigning this in not using the back loop only method, but I really like that texture, the stripes. I think being a cactus, that's half of the design, is that it's sort of got the stripes in it. I suppose another thing with this one being a bit stretchier too, you can't really tell, but it is a bit more holey using the single strand, which means you can't tell because this is grey, but if this was like a dark colour or like a red or something like that, you would be able to really see the fluff inside in all the holes. So a few things to learn, but overall quite happy with the pattern, and ready to send it out to testers. So that's my cactus pillow. So I'll talk a bit more about my testers and how I go all about that a little bit later in shop updates. But that's my finished items. And then I've got 2 whips. One is a crochet whip and the other is a stitch marker whip. So my first whip is the one that you would have seen in the thumbnail photo for this podcast. And that is my crochet cow that I'm working on. So I showed you this in a bit more detail in the last podcast if you've watched it. This is a cow design that I've been working on, made in a moss or a linen stitch, using a stunning hand-dyed yarn by Hedgehog Fibres in the colourway Monet. And I was right last fortnight about the Impressionism stuff too. I googled it afterwards. I was like, that's what I get for listening in year 12 art. So yes, he was an Impressionist painter, and the Impressionists, you can see that whole dotty thing was sort of the sort of technique he used when he painted, which I'm only assuming. I don't actually know if that's why they called it Monet, but as soon as I saw it and I saw that it was called Monet, I'm like, well, obviously. That's my interpretation anyway. And so it's got some nice sort of variegating stripes on either side. Where I'm at with this one, so I was hoping, there's a story. I was hoping to have this finished by today's podcast so I could show you guys the finished item. And so I'm frantically working on it away last night and finished it, because I make it in one long strip and then sew it into a tube, if you will. So you'll see the sewed bit there that doesn't go all the way. And so I finished it and then I tried it on and I'm like, damn it, it's way too big. So lengthwise is fine for my design, but it's way too big this way. And this hasn't been, 2 things. One, I'm a tight crocheter, so other people making this will probably make it even bigger. And 2, this hasn't been blocked. So if this was blocked, it would be huge. So I'm not going to block it. It doesn't need to be blocked. These stitches are very neat. I don't think it needs blocking. But yes, so I'm contemplating, and I've gone back and forth about 20 times with myself if I want to do this or not, because I was so proud of finishing this. And I've used up like literally the entire skein of the hand dye. That's all I've got left of the hedgehog fiber merino. Frogging it back like half of it so that I can shorten it, because to make it smaller, the middle panel where it's just the straight monet will basically be halved. So I need to frog all the way back to here and start the stripes from here. Ideally, I would probably shorten the amount of white that I've got at either end, but I can only shorten the end one. To shorten the start of it, I would need to frog the entire thing, which I'm not willing to do. So for mine, I'm just going to shorten the middle panel of the monet and shorten it that way. So I'll show you what it looks like on, and then I can explain to you what I mean by it being a little bit too big. Ugh. All right. So this is basically how it sits. Okay, so the split sort of sits over the shoulder, and then the top folds down. Obviously the ends are all going to be woven in. I just haven't got around to finish weaving them in yet, because once I realized it was too big and I was probably going to frog it, I quickly stopped weaving in ends. The only other thing that's annoying me is this little corner keeps like flicking up, but I think you could probably I think maybe with a bit of blocking that would stop curling. I mean, you probably wear it under a coat and stuff anyway, so it's not the end of the world. Or you could probably even single crochet down along this edge just to stiffen this up. And that would probably help it to lay flat as well. It's not too bad. It's just if I knock it, it sort of will sit up a bit. Anyway, so that's effectively how it looks. So a couple things. One, like I said, it's too long. So if I actually pull it forward on my neck, like I would want to, you can see how much gap I've got here. So ideally, I wanted it to be sort of sitting up like this. But for me to get it to sit like that, you can see I've sort of pulled the cow right back. So I really need to sort of remove like this much. So it's quite a bit too big. But I think if I halve this middle section, if I take this amount out, that'll be enough for my pattern. And then I think when I write the pattern up, I'll also maybe pull this back a couple of things as well to make up that little bit extra. I'm also aware people need to be able to pull it on and off their head, so I don't want it can't be too tight, but it's just too loose at the moment. I don't like how loose it is, so I'd want it more, yeah, up like this. So that's how it's meant to sit. The other thing that I want to change as well is bringing the slit up a little bit higher, so up to say maybe there. So this pulls down a little bit more, and it's just a little bit less bulky up at this corner, which would be an easy fix. But like I said, yeah, the main thing is that it just needs to be pulled in a good like 10 centimeters for it to sit up nice like this, which is how I wanted it to look. But other than that, I'm happy with the shape of it. I like the stripes and how they sort of go off to the side. I like the asymmetrical triangle, sort of the way that the asymmetrical sits. I am going to probably on mine, and it will be completely optional, is to have sort of what would look like a fake tie here with a couple of pom-poms. It'll be purely for show, so if you didn't want to have the pom-poms on there, which some people certainly wouldn't, you'd just be able to omit that last part of the pattern. because I showed you last week, this is sort of designed off one that I originally made in a kitty size, that I'm tweaking. I'll put a picture up here, it's probably easier. But you see what I mean with the pom-poms. So I am a bit more adventurous and would love to have some nice big chunky pom-poms here. I think it will finish it off just nicely. But yeah, so that's what I've got to do. So I've still got to do my pom-poms, bring my sit up a bit higher, but before I do that, I've got to frog all the way back, take out about that much of the middle section and redo it. And hopefully when I take that strip out the middle section, it's not going to, I don't want my stripes to pull up too high. I think it will work out all right. It should end up like that, which would be nice. So I really like it, and I would wear this. A lot of things that I design, especially because I do make kids wear, I suppose, I wouldn't wear, but I would actually wear this one. And I'll have it in time for winter. Very nice. So yes, you can snuggle into it. So tell me what you think down below. Because I'd love your opinion on the size, the shape, the fit. Now that you've sort of, like I said, I've been talking about this for a while, but you sort of haven't really been able to see what it looks like on. So let me know what you think. Do you like the pattern? Is it something that you would make? Do you agree that it should be shorter? Would you prefer a longer one that sort of sits down more like this, which is how it sort of would currently sit? I'm also aware that I am little, so I have a smaller neck. So someone that was a bigger build might need a little bit bigger. I don't know when I make it, whether I would make it in 2 adult sizes, a small adult and a large adult, and make the large adult sort of a bit bigger. But if I did that, I'd probably want to make it a bit wider as well. So I don't know. That's going to be the fun part. And by fun, I mean the worst. The worst part of pattern making is scaling for other sizes. Mainly because I just can't be bothered. Once I make a design, I want to start moving on to something else. I don't feel like making the same design 6 times and tweaking it. But this didn't actually take too long, which was good. So it wasn't too bad. So yes, so that is whip number 1. Next fortnight it will be all finished and I'll be able to show you what it looks like with the pom-poms and everything, and resized, hopefully. I've got a busy couple of weeks ahead. So, but because after my cactus, that will be the next whip that, or the next pattern that gets released to the public. And then I've got to work on a new pattern. I actually don't know what I'm going to work on after that. I have to start thinking about it. I was working on a nice cottony sort of kimono-y throw, which I want to revisit. I really liked the design. It's just very, very time consuming because the adult side, it's huge. We're talking about like a big wrap flowy cardigan that comes down like nearly to your knees. Like it's big. So it uses a lot of cotton. It takes a very long time to make the bigger sizes. And then obviously I've got to make like 8 different sizes. So yes, but that one might be next. Or some boots, or I don't know. I've got that many designs that I've got sort of like in the works. It's not even funny. Excuse me while I drink some of my coffee that's actually now nice temperature. Best part about the cooler weather. I can thoroughly enjoy a coffee. But you're not watching this podcast to watch me drink coffee. So let's move on, shall we? All right. Next whip is stitch markers. So, the stitch marker fiasco. So stitch markers, as I mentioned, I started making out of polymer clay. I've only done 1 shop release so far. Downsides to making stitch markers, very time consuming, and I can't just pick up and take wherever I want. I need to have my full setup. It takes like 5-10 minutes just to get everything out. And then, so you sort of, you want to go into it knowing you've got a few hours of uninterrupted time, which when you've got 3 kids, doesn't happen a lot. uninterrupted time where you can set everything up, because you've got to clear all the kitchen table. Like, it's a headache, right? It's not like knitting or crochet where you can just sit on the couch and knit for 5 minutes and then put it aside and get up and go. Which is why I haven't been doing it as much as I wish I had. And as much as I do enjoy it, I don't find it as enjoyable, or I don't find it relaxing to make things out of polymer. I enjoy doing it, but it's not relaxing, whereas knitting and crocheting is relaxing. So all of that being said, I was going to be having a shop update at the beginning of Feb, but January was just too busy and I just didn't have enough that it was worth doing a shop update for. So then I said I was going to do a shop update at the beginning of March. And then we had some sickness go through the family, and you know, it's just, there's one thing after the other, and I've only just the last few days started getting back into it, and we're 2 days off the beginning of Feb. So I do want to still do a shop update. It may not be on the 1st of March, possibly the week after, but rest assured I am actually starting to make some stuff and get some stuff together. So this week I made some more Galaxy donuts. So these sold out in my first shop update. So these haven't been finished yet, which is why the eye pins haven't been cut short, and it doesn't have the glittery resin on it yet. But I've made 2 sets. I made 40 of the damn thing. So I've made 2 sets of each colour, and each set has 5 donuts in it. It's really hard to tell in this light, but they're actually, they don't, like, it hasn't been sanded down yet, but it's a donut with icing, and the icing is all covered in a really super shiny pearlescent pigment in pinks and golds and purples, and then there's some stars that have been drawn and splattered on, and then that will have a glittery resin coating just over the top of the donut. So they come in 2 colors. They come in the light, so the white with the pink pearl on it, and then they come in the dark. So that's black with purple, gold, and blue on it. So they're my sort of, there you go, you can see the pearlescent a bit better there. The colours are stunning. Let me see if I hold the other one up at that angle. You can see the pearl a bit better. Sort of. They're really shiny. So yeah, so I've made two sets of each, and each set is a set of 5. So they need to be sanded, resined, and have the eye pins shortened and glued into place so that they don't come undone. So I have made them ever so slightly smaller than the first set. The first set was were a bit bigger, a little bit too big. Actually, hold on, I might have one. I'm pretty sure I made them smaller. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so this was the first one from the first set that I made. I did use slightly different colours this time, and I wish I'd put blue in the new set, but it's alright, they still look good. So that was the first set I did, and these are the new ones. So they're nowhere near as thick as the first set, and they are ever so slightly smaller in diameter as well. So these were cute, but a little bit big, whereas these are a bit more stitch markery sized. I wish I had put blue on it. That's all right. I prefer these colours, but these still look nice. They look really pretty, just slightly different. Pretty in its own little way. So yes, so I've been busy making those. So that's my other whip. I also was making some book stitch markers earlier, but I had a bit of a problem there. So I will speak about those a bit later. I've got no new acquisitions this week. I did go to Spotlight earlier today actually because I had to pick up some more white clay, and they were rearranging all the yarn in Spotlight, and they had a new, I'll find a picture and I'll put it up here, and I hadn't seen it before, a new cake, ombre cake. I think it was Lion Brand. I know, it'll be up here anyway. And I hadn't seen it before. I haven't worked with cakes ever. I don't like the harsh color changes in them. I'm a bit more of a yarn snob. I preferred my hand-dyeds and my pure merinos and things like that. That being said, if you like cakes, check these out. I was so close to buying one, or buying a couple, but none of the colors really appealed to me. But a few things that I absolutely loved was, one, the ombre. It's got that stonewash, which if you've watched my other podcast would know I've got this big thing about stonewashed yarn. I love the rustic look of it. And in the right pattern, it looks great. So all of them have got that stonewashy look. It must be all the rage at the moment because you see, I'm seeing it more and more pop up. I mentioned last week there was a new, it's in this cube here, there's a new range of cotton that's got it. Above it, I've got my, a whole bunch that I bought, Balsic, I can never say it, yarn that I've got that's all the ombre stuff, but they've got this one now. So one, it's got the ombre, which is beautiful, and two, I've never felt acrylic that felt more like superwash merino than this yarn. I don't know what the hell they've done with it, but it felt amazing. I had to double check the label to see what it was actually made of, and it was 100% acrylic, but it had the feel and the twisted stretch of pure wash merino. Incredibly soft. If they had it in a colorway that appealed to me, I would have got it hands down. But yeah, like I said, the reason I didn't get it, A, I'm not used to working with cakes, and two, I like to have more control over my color changes. Whereas I think the problem with cakes is if you don't pick the right project, the colors aren't going to change as often or where you want them to. You're going to end up with and because they're fast changes, you end up with mid-row changes and things like that. So I didn't get them, but I certainly, if you like those sort of cakes, check them out. They're now at Spotlight here in Australia, because yeah, the yarn feels incredible, and I'd love to know what it actually feels to work with. So let me know. I may end up picking some up. The only one that I was so close to getting, because I liked the color, was their bright rainbow one, which is the one, I'll make sure that's the one I put the picture up of. But I didn't know if I was going to use it. And it wasn't on special. It's like $14 a cake. It's bloody expensive for acrylic yarn. That's crazy. And I mean, like I said, it felt amazing, so that's probably why. But it might be one that I pick up if Spotlight do a sale on their yarn, instead of 30, 40, 50% off, I'll grab some. But for $14 a cake, if I don't know I'm going to use it, probably wouldn't bother. So I did just want to mention that at Spotlight. So shop update. So like I said, stitch markers, hopefully in the next week or so. I need to make up some more books, book stitch markers. I want to make another 4 or so sets of peach stitch markers. And then I need to sit down, work out what I've got, because I've been making them a bit higgledy-piggledy. I've sort of done a few cactus and, done a couple of koalas, but I haven't been making sets on my pancakes. So I need to sit down and work out, okay, what sets am I going to have and what do I need to make to finish these off and actually get some proper sets together. So I know I need to make some like coffee cups and eggs, bacon, for my breakfast one that I wanted to do. I need to make a few more things for my Mexican one that I wanted to do with the cactus and some tacos. And I've got those koalas I don't know what I'm going to do with yet. So yeah, I've got to sit down and work out exactly what I've got for stock for my next shop update. So that's where I'm at with that. As far as patterns go, so obviously my cactus pattern is all written up and ready to go. It just needs to be tested. So I'll have a quick chat about testing. So with my testing, I think I have mentioned this in a previous podcast, so I do apologize if I'm completely repeating myself. But what I did with my first pattern testing, which was on my Reagan bonnet, basically I've got a form on my website, and I will make sure down below, the links down below. So I've got a form on my website, and if you've got any interest in being a pattern tester for any future upcoming patterns, so it's not for anyone in particular, it's just any pattern, you fill out this form. It's very, very quick. It's just, your name, your Instagram if you've got one, your Ravelry page if you've got one, what your preferred craft is, so if you're a knitter or a crocheter or both, and lastly, what you'd prefer to make. So if you want to make decor, if you want to make baby wear, or if you only want to do adult wear. That way, when I do have a pattern coming up, I'm not going to send you invites to make a decor pattern if you've got no interest in making decor. So, and then obviously there's a free form section at the bottom where you can just put your own comments in, anything extra that you want me to know, that you think I would be interested in knowing or taking into consideration, other designers you've perhaps tested for previously, things like that. And so every time a form gets completed and submitted, I get an email. And that email shows me all the information that you've put in. Then what I do is every form that I get or email that I get with the form, I then sit down and I put it all into a Excel spreadsheet. And then with all the different things in different columns, so that way I can filter it. I'm a big Excel nerd. I love my Excel. So all my data's there, and then I can filter it. So when I've got an upcoming pattern, I can filter by people that only want to do decor, or people that filtering out people that don't have any Instagram or Facebook or things like that, or so on and so forth. And then basically what I've done as well is I've sort of put a rating structure in, sort of a 1, 2, or 3 stars. And so I check every applicant, every single one I come through. I verify that your Instagram's correct. I check out your Ravelry. Your form just doesn't get filed away. I personally check out every single one of you. And then if you've got I've checked your Instagram, you've got beautiful photos on your Instagram, or you've got a big Facebook page with heaps of followers, and you're really engaged socially and things like that, that all goes towards your star score, I suppose. So if I get an applicant that hasn't got any social media, I can't see their work, or they haven't given me any extra information or anything, then it may just be 1 star, because they're not an ideal candidate for a tester. Because you remember, I've literally received hundreds. So, and when I only need 5 or 6 testers for a pattern, I do make sure that I'm picking out those that I know I'm going to get the most value out of. People that have pattern tested for others before, and I can see that. I've checked your Ravelry page, and I can see that you've got other patterns that you've tested before. You've got, like I said, you're big on socials, things like that. You are more likely to get picked as a tester. That's fairly standard. That's not just me. All other testers generally have the same requirements. They will put a disclosure on there saying that you are more likely to be picked as a tester if you do have a social following. And that reason being is that we want to be able to see your work. And secondly, obviously it is a marketing tool for us. Not only are we giving you a free pattern and getting it tested, but if you're posting online that you've done this pattern, or we know that your final product, we're going to get good photos from it that I can then use in my marketing, and I can tag you in things and things like that. It's all about building that community, which I can't do with someone that isn't online or on any of the social platforms. Because my business is majority, all my marketing comes from the social platforms. So whether it be Pinterest, or it's all about online and people sharing my patterns, that is how I get all of my traffic. And most pattern designers get all of their traffic without paying for advertisements. That's the only way to do it. So that's why that is really important, in case you were wondering why I keep sort of mentioning, Instagram's good sort of thing when it comes to pattern testers. So that's sort of how my pattern testing works. And then obviously, so everyone gets put onto a database. Then when I've got a pattern that I'm ready to release, I'll sit down and I'll start filtering, and I will narrow it down to a group of people, usually double the amount that I ideally require. So for my cactus pattern, for instance, because it's only one size, I probably only need 5 testers. So I'll narrow it down to a top 10, knowing that odds are that hopefully at least half will be interested or able to. So I pick my short list. I send you all out an email saying, hi, this is the upcoming pattern. Is this something you'd be interested in doing? This is when it would be required by. This is the materials you need, that sort of thing. And then if you are wanting to do it and you've got the time, you don't have any other commitments or anything like that, then you'd email me back and say, yep, no problem, happy to do it. And then you're in. And then I'll send you through a copy of the pattern along with, a list of questions to answer. Did you find any errors, and was it easy to understand, all of that sort of stuff. So that's how the process sort of works from beginning to end. So I am at the stage of needing to sit down and filter out testers for the cactus. So I haven't done it yet. I've had a bit of an influx of new applications, which I haven't had a chance to sit down and go through. So I've got about 30 application forms that I've got to sit down and check out on Instagram and Facebook and things like that. Give them a star rating, put them into the database and things like that. So, and then I'll filter down and find my 10 people that I'm going to invite to do a cactus blow. And I do keep track of who I've asked previously. I will try and make sure, while I might sometimes re-ask someone that I have used previously, but generally I will try to mix it up as much as possible. That way I get an opportunity to work with more people. So it's not just like I always stick with the same top 10 people. I will try use different people every time. So hang in there. You may, if you don't get asked to do a pattern, you may next time. So yes, so that's where I'm at with pattern testing. So that will be done shortly. Last but not least, I've actually hit 50 minutes. See, I don't know what it was about last week. I just must not have blabbered. I feel very blabbery today. Last but not least, I did a feature in a magazine. So I collaborated with a magazine called Molly Makes. I'll put a picture of the magazine up here, along with a shot of my ad. So it was a paid advertisement. They approached me and asked me if I wanted to do it, and set me through, this is what you'll get, this is what it costs. So I decided, I've got nothing to lose. Let's give it a go. Worst case scenario, it doesn't work, but I sort of was happy to accept. I'm happy to pay this amount of money to see if this kind of marketing will work for my business. So that the edition that I was in went live a couple weeks ago. I have to say I haven't noticed a difference. I have gotten some more Instagram followers, but that being said, I generally am slowly increasing all the time anyway, so it wasn't enough that I could say, oh yeah, I can see a definite increase as soon as that particular magazine went on sale. So yeah, it's not something I'd probably do again anytime soon. For the money that I spent, I haven't seen an outcome out of it. As far as getting a few more followers and stuff like that, like I can easily do that in other ways that don't cost me money. So for me, I don't feel that it was worth it. Everyone's going to be a little bit different. But it was still cool to do. It's nice, and they're going to send me out a hard copy, so I'm going to have a magazine that my little business is in, which is really cool. When you're a small business owner, they're like, even if you didn't pay for it, it's still pretty cool to sort of have your business in a magazine, a little photo, and so yeah, it's cool. But yeah, I can't say it was a successful campaign. Not yet, anyway. But it's been a couple of weeks, so I think I would have seen something by now. Anyway, so that's that. So that's where I'm at with shop updates. So I'm at 50 minutes, so I'm going to sort of finish up now. I still want to show you, I'm going to put a quick tutorial at the end for stitch markers. It's going to be I'm going to put the full version on YouTube. So it's probably going to be about 15 odd minute tutorial, but I am going to just put a short speeded up edited version at the end of this one, but in my channel I will also have a video for the full length tutorial. It's a non-verbal tutorial, so I'm just showing you what I'm doing. I'm not talking through it or anything like that, but the tutorial was to make some of my little book stitch markers, because I needed to make some anyway. So I'm like, well, I'll set the camera up and I might as well film it while I'm doing it. And then I can put that up on my channel. But I burnt my books. I, out of habit, just chucked the oven on 180, which is what I cook pretty much everything at, forgetting that the stitch markers are only meant to be at about 130. And after 10 minutes I could smell it, and I thought, oh crap, I burnt my books. So this is what happened. For the record, the brown's not meant to be there. It was a beautiful teal green, with a whole bunch of like shimmery glitter through it. It was a beautiful color, and I ruined it. I opened the oven and I could see it was all crisped and had gone brown, and I thought, oh no. And I made freaking 8 of the damn things. I made them in the teal and the pink. The pink ones aren't burnt as bad. It's a bit hard to see. In real life, you can see it a little, probably a little bit there. But yeah, the green ones got absolutely fried. So I was devastated. Because I'm frantically trying to get stitch markers ready, I made 2 whole sets. I thought, oh my God, go me. Like, how productive can you get, Jenna? And yeah, burnt the whole bloody lot of them. So it was 2 hours down the drain. So I'm really glad I filmed, because at least I can go, you know what? Yes, I burnt them, but I've got a tutorial out of it. So it wasn't a complete waste of time. So I'll put the tutorial up now. I'm going to wrap up now because I've got to get going as well. To pick my son up from childcare. I'm running a little bit late. So that's where I'm at with everything. Thank you so much for watching today's podcast. It was a bit longer this time. Clearly I had some things to say. So Please do like and subscribe again if you enjoyed today's podcast. If you're not interested in hanging around for the tutorial, you can just end the video now. Otherwise, I will cut through to a quick version of my tutorial now, and I will see you all in a couple of weeks. Oh, and don't forget as well, if you do have any comments, please do comment down below. If you liked anything you saw today, or most importantly, if there's anything you want me to discuss in upcoming episodes, please put it down below so I know what you guys want to hear. And I will see you in 2 weeks. Bye.